Xonimlar va janoblar, parlamentlararo ittifoq madhiyasi yangraydi. The anthem of the Inter-Parliamentary Union will be played. Assalomu alaykum xonimlar va janoblar. Sizlarni parlamentlararo ittifoqning 150-yubiley assambleyasi munosabati bilan Tashkent shahrida ko'rib turganimizdan juda ham mamnunmiz. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are very pleased and honored to see you in Tashkent on the occasion of the 150th anniversary assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Markaziy Osiyo tarixida ilk marotaba o'tkazilayotgan ushbu nufuzli anjuman dunyoning 190 ta mamlakati, 15 ta kuzatuvchi davlat hamda 25 dan ortiq xalqaro va parlamentlararo tashkilotidan 2000 ga yaqin delegatlar ishtirok etmoqda. About 2000 delegates from 190 countries of the world, 15 observer states and more than 25 international and inter-parliamentary organizations are participating in this prestigious conference, which is being held for the first time in Central Asia. Mazkur yubiley assambleyani ochib berish uchun so'z navbatini Uzbekistan Respublikasi Oliy Majlisi Senati raisi muhtarama Tanzila Kamalovna Narbayevaga beramiz. To open this anniversary assembly, we will give the floor to the chairperson of the Senate of the Oliy Majlis of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Tanzila Kamalovna Narbayeva.
Assalomu alaykum. Hurmatli Tulia Ekson xonim, hurmatli janob Martin Chunkong, qadrli delegatsiya rahbarlari, xonimlar va janoblar. Siz aziz mehmonlarimizni O'zbekistonda, poytaxtimiz Tashkentda parlamentlararo ittifoqning 150-yubiley assambleyasining tantanali ochilish marosimida samimiy qutlashdan nihoyatda mamnunman. Parlamentlararo ittifoq prezidenti Tulia Ekson xonimga, bosh kotib janob Martin Chunkongga va ittifoq ijroiy qo'mitasi a'zolariga ushbu assambleya ishining yuqori saviyada tashkil etilishida har tomonlama ko'rsatgan yordami uchun o'zimizning alohida minnatdorchiligimizni bildiraman. Aziz do'stlar, parlamentlararo ittifoqning 150-yubiley assambleyasi nafaqat o'zining tarixiyligi, balki butun mazmun mohiyati bilan jamiyat va davlat o'rtasidagi munosabatlarni mustahkamlash, mamlakatlar barqaror rivojlanishini ta'minlashning muhim sharti bo'lgan ijtimoiy sohani rivojlantirishga qaratilgani bilan ahamiyatlidir. Ijtimoiy taraqqiyot va adolat uchun parlament harakati mavzusida o'tkazilayotgan assambleya doirasida ijtimoiy taraqqiyotga erishish, adolatli jamiyatni barpo etishda parlamentlar ishtirokini kengaytirish va faolligini oshirishga qaratilgan 90 ga yaqin turli tadbirlar va debatlar tashkil qilingan. Aziz hamkasblar, bugun jahon siyosiy maydonida o'zining mustahkam o'rni, obro'si va o'z so'ziga ega bo'lgan parlamentlararo ittifoq parlament diplomatiyasini rivojlantirish, demokratik institutlarni mustahkamlash, inson huquqlarini himoya qilish, barqaror rivojlanish maqsadlarini ro'yobga chiqarish kabi muhim yo'nalishlarda faol ish olib bormoqda. Tashkilot milliy qonunchilik organlarining ilg'or tajriba va amaliyotlarini o'zaro integratsiya qilish orqali zamonaviy tahdidlarni bartaraf etish bo'yicha parlamentlar uchun umumiy strategiyalarni ishlab chiqishda ko'maklashib kelmoqda. Ayniqsa, geosiyosiy vaziyat tobora taranglashib borayotgan bir davrda parlamentlararo ittifoq dunyoda tinchlik va xavfsizlikni saqlash, nizolarni hal qilish, xalqaro huquq va tinchlikparvar siyosatni rivojlantirish borasida parlamentlar rolini kuchaytirishga harakat qilmoqda. Mojarolar hududida inson huquqlarini himoya qilish, zo'ravonliklarning oldini olish va jabrlanganlarga gumanitar yordamning ta'minlanishiga alohida e'tibor qaratmoqda. Siyosatda gender tenglikni ta'minlash ittifoq faoliyatidagi ustuvor vazifalardan biri sifatida belgilangan. Qonunchilik faoliyatida xotin-qizlar ishtirokini kengaytirish bo'yicha tavsiya etilayotgan samarali mexanizmlar milliy parlamentlarda ayollar soni yil sayin ortib borishiga xizmat qilmoqda. Parlamentlar faoliyatida yoshlar vakillari ishtirokini kuchaytirish maqsadida ularni qonun ijodkorligiga faol jalb etish, yangi avlod siyosatchilarini qo'llab-quvvatlashga qaratilgan bir qator loyihalar ilgari surib kelinmoqda. Qadrli assambleya ishtirokchilari, bugun yangi O'zbekistonda davlat va jamiyat hayotining barcha jabhalarida islohotlar izchillik bilan davom etmoqda. Taraqqiyotning hal qiluvchi bosqichiga qadam qo'yildi. Milliy parlamentning ushbu jarayonlarda muhim ijtimoiy-iqtisodiy, siyosiy huquqiy vazifalarni hal etishdagi roli, vakolatlari sezilarli darajada kengaytirildi. So'nggi yillarda O'zbekiston parlamenti xalqaro parlament mexanizmlariga faol ravishda integratsiyalashib bormoqda. Hozirgi kunda ko'plab xalqaro va mintaqaviy tashkilotlarning, xususan parlamentlararo ittifoq, Yevropada xavfsizlik va hamkorlik tashkiloti, mustaqil davlatlar hamdo'stligi, Turkiy davlatlar parlamentlari va assambleyalarida hamda Markaziy Osiyo parlamentlari forumida faol ishtirok etib kelmoqdamiz. Parlamentlararo ittifoqning to'liq a'zosi sifatida eng dolzarb masalalarga doir taklif va tavsiyalarimizni xalqaro doiralarda ilgari surib kelmoqdamiz. Qadrli do'stlar, siz tashrifingiz davomida betakror yurtimizni o'z ko'zingiz bilan ko'rib, uning tarixi, boy moddiy madaniy merosi hamda mehmondo'st o'zbek xalqining o'ziga xos an'analari, zamonaviy turmush tarzi bilan yaqindan tanishish imkoniyatiga ega bo'lasiz. Albatta, Toshkentdagi yubiley assambleyasini parlamentlararo ittifoqi jahon parlamentarizmi tarixidagi unutilmas voqeaga aylantirishga bor kuch imkoniyatlarini safarbar etganliklari uchun parlamentlararo ittifoqning barcha rahbar va mas'ul xodimlariga yana bir bor o'zimizning samimiy minnatdorligimizni bildiramiz. E'tiboringiz uchun rahmat.
Thank you, Tanzila Kamolovna, for your inspiring words. Qadrli do'stlar, endi so'z navbatini Oliy Majlis Qonunchilik palatasi spikeri, hurmatli Nuriddin Mo'ydinovich Ismoilovga beramiz. Now let's welcome the Speaker of the Legislative Chamber of the Oliy Majlis of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Nuriddin Mo'ydinxonovich Ismoilov.
Assalomu alaykum. Parlamentlararo ittifoq prezidenti Tuliya Ekson xonim, parlamentlararo ittifoq bosh kotibi Martin Chunkong janob oliylari, nufuzli xalqaro tashkilot vakillari, mehmonlar, xonimlar va janoblar. Mamlakatimiz poytaxti Toshkent shahrida o'tkazilayotgan tarixiy ahamiyatga ega bo'lgan tadbir Parlamentlar aro ittifoqning 150 yubiley assambleyasida sizlarni ko'rib turganimizdan mamnunmiz. Fursatdan foydalanib, O'zbekistonning ushbu nufuzli xalqaro anjumanni o'tkazish tashabbusini qo'llab-quvvatlagan barcha xalqaro tashkilotlar rahbarlariga, parlamentlar rahbarlariga chuqur minnatdorchilik izhor qilamiz. Assambleyaning yurtimizda o'tkazilayotganligi O'zbekistonda amalga oshirilayotgan va natija berayotgan keng ko'lamli islohotlar, demokratik yangilashlarning xalqaro miqyosdagi ulkan e'tirofidir. O'zbekiston prezidenti mamlakatimizda parlamentning o'rni va rolini oshirishga alohida e'tibor qaratib, milliy parlamentarizmimizning parlamentlararo hamkorligini doimo qo'llab-quvvatlayotganini alohida ta'kidlamoqchiman. Shu ma'noda Parlamentlararo ittifoqning navbatdagi assambleyasini O'zbekistonda o'tkazish g'oyasi ham O'zbekiston prezidenti Shavkat Mirziyoyev tomonidan qo'llab-quvvatlandi. Xonimlar va janoblar, ittifoqning va uning bosh siyosiy organi assambleyasi turli demokratik rivojlanish va xilma-xil an'analarni ifodalovchi parlamentariyalarning birgalikda yig'ilib, jahon hamjamiyati bugun duch kelayotgan muammolarga yechim topish mumkin bo'lgan samarali platformadir. Toshkentda o'tayotgan yubiley assambleya xalqaro hamjamiyatni o'ylantirayotgan muhim masalalar, shu jumladan kambag'allikni bartaraf etish, munosib mehnat sharoitlarini yaratish kabi dolzarb ijtimoiy muammolarni muhokama qilishni o'z oldiga maqsad qilib qo'ygani bilan ahamiyatlidir. Bugungi kunda bizning mamlakatimiz O'zbekiston 2030 taraqqiyot strategiyasi va yangi tahrirda qabul qilingan konstitutsiyamiz asosida huquqiy demokratik g'oyalarga asoslangan jamiyat barpo etish yo'lida bormoqda. Xalqimizning tinchlik, osoyishtaligini, farovonligini ta'minlash, inson, uning hayoti, erkinligi, sha'ni va qadr-qimmati oliy qadriyat hisoblanadigan insonparvar.
Especially according to the new edition of the Constitution, it stipulates very important steps in order to further combat poverty and improve well-being of the population. And in order to further improve the social protection of the population, as you may be aware of, we have the so-called new agency of social protection, which is concretely involved in solving and tackling different issues related to improve of their situation with well-being of different layer of population, including marginalized layer and persons with disabilities, women and others. And in order to further to fight about the interests of the Republic, we do hope that we will continue our collaboration in the future with your esteemed organization. Thank you very much for your attention.
It's a true honor to have you here with us. Xonimlar va janoblar, navbatdagi so'z Parlamentlar aro ittifoq raisi
The floor is given to the IPU President, Mrs. Tulia.
the President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Madam Tulia Aksan.
Your Excellency Speaker of the Senate of Uzbekistan, Ms. Tanzila Nabayeva, Your Excellency Speaker of the Legislative Chamber of Uzbekistan, Mr. Nurdin John Ismailov, Mr. Martin Chugong, Distinguished Secretary General of the IPU, Honorable Speakers, Deputy Speakers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and in particular, our Vice President of IPU, Ms. Gabriela. I would like to recognize your presence here also, and congratulations also for your election to this position. Esteemed colleagues, you're all welcome to the 150 IPU's Assembly. This is a historic gathering. I feel great honor and pride to preside over the IPU in a year of such important milestones. At 150 assemblies, parliamentarians from every continent have answered this organizational call, stepping forward to engage in political dialogue, seeking channels of cooperation, and help make this a better and more peaceful and democratic world, with opportunities for genuine progress for everyone, everywhere. At the same time, we are commemorating 4 decades of tireless advocacy of gender equality and leadership by the IPU Forum of Women Parliamentarians. In this context, our presence in a country with a fellow Speaker of Senate here in Uzbekistan is especially meaningful. With almost 80% of the world's speakers being men, female leadership in parliaments remains an exception. Parity is still a distant goal, so every example of a strong female leader and how powerful they are is a good statement of progress and a call to action for further change to achieve equal representation in politics. Furthermore, for the first time in history, our assembly is convening in Central Asia. I invite you to see this as a reflection of the IPU's promise to its member parliaments. As a truly global institution, we shall endeavor to bring this organization closer to every single region of this world. So, to our gracious hosts, the Republic of Uzbekistan, to His Excellency President Mirziyoyev, who will be addressing our Assembly on Monday, and to their Excellencies, Madam Speaker of the Senate, and Mr. Speaker of the Legislative Chamber, and to every single person here whose warmth and hard work have made us feel at home. Thank you. Rahmat. I offer my deepest gratitude to all the people of Uzbekistan. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have been very well received. We have been very well taken care of. We have been welcomed. Esteemed colleagues, while the 150 IPU Assembly is marking milestones I just mentioned, it is also a meaningful a moment for deep reflection that needs to lead to concrete and forward-looking outcomes. We must candidly recognize that plenty of work still lies ahead of us. First, concrete parliamentary action on social development and justice. The theme of our general debate is urgently needed. We know this is no time to rest on our laurels, and we will not do so. Please consider these very stark facts. After decades of steady gains, progress in reducing poverty has stalled in recent years. About 720 million people, roughly 9% of the world, live on less than $2.15 per day. At the current pace, we are way off track to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, especially number 1, of ending poverty by 2030. Inequality has become an inescapable reality. The wealthiest 10% of individuals in the world now claim 52% of global income, while the poorest 50% survive on just 8.5. Job insecurity is also deepening, dear colleagues. Globally, 2 billion workers still depend on informal, precarious employment without protections or social security. Inflation and economic instability have weakened workers' purchasing power, pushing decent work further and further out of reach. The year 2022 marked the first time in the 21st century that real global wages fell. Social exclusion persists on a shocking scale, as numerous groups face systemic discrimination on the basis of gender, ethnicity, age, religion, or disability, to name only a few factors. Women continue to face profound barriers, with the labor force participation stuck at 47%, compared to 72% for men, and the global gender pay gap persists at 20%. Young people are particularly vulnerable to precarious work. Global youth unemployment remains several times higher than adult unemployment, and youth are more likely to be in the gig economy or in temporary jobs. These are only a couple of examples among many others. Above all else, I would like to invite you to think about the realities beyond these mere statistics. Please picture human lives, the real families, the communities, and the individuals that have pledged to serve and who continue to suffer as their basic social needs remain unmet. Our role as parliamentarians compels us to address these challenges with empathy and a real commitment. 30 years ago in Copenhagen, world leaders articulated a powerful vision. Social development must place human dignity at their heart. The 1995 Copenhagen Declaration remains just as relevant today. Now, as we prepare for the Second World Summit for Social Development in Qatar later this year, we have a unique chance to deliver a substantial parliamentary contribution to this debate. Social development and peace are deeply intertwined, forming a vicious cycle where one reinforces the other. Without peace, social development cannot take root. At the same time, social progress strengthens peace and security, aligning closely with the principles of human security and common security that we hold dear at the IPU. True peace can only be achieved when individuals are free from fear, want, and indignity, and when no nation's security comes at the expense of another's. Honorable parliamentarians of the world gathered here, I hardly need to remind you that we are living in exceptionally dangerous times, with conflict, violence, and instability gripping multiple places, such as the Middle East, Ukraine, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Sahel, and Myanmar. Multilateral institutions, once thought of as unshakable pillars of global stability, now face paralysis. Geopolitical divisions run deep, and trust among nations wears thin. Yet, if peace is to prevail, it is multilateralism and not isolationism that must endure and thrive. In this regard, we need to move beyond outdated and obsolete 20th century Cold War mindsets, where one
的
nation
冷战思维。
as another's loss, where the world is
在20世纪冷战思维当中呢，大家恪守的是零和游戏的思想，世界呢分裂成各个纷争的阵营。那么要想做到这一
tensions rise,
点呢，议会外交是一个非常有效的工具。
armies exchange bullets, and when mistrust spreads,
当各
parliamentarians can still build
国的政府开始筑起壁垒和高墙，我们的议会呢仍然能够构建起对话的桥梁。谢谢大家。
diverse peoples, cultures, and perspectives, of course. Yet, through the simple but profound, powerful act of speaking and listening to one another, we can come to realize that the hopes and the dreams of the communities we represent have far more in common than some would have us believe. By fostering trust and extending a hand when others are crossing their arms, we can reveal solutions and compromises that benefit everyone and uphold everyone's human rights. Dialogue does not erase differences, but it paves the way for understanding, cooperation, and the possibility for peace. Indeed, parliamentary diplomacy embodies the very essence of democratic dialogue. And democratic dialogue is too important to fail. Peace is too precious to lose. Dear friends, dear colleagues, as I mentioned earlier, we are celebrating our 150th IPU Assembly. Throughout this event, over 700 members of parliament from across the globe will engage in rich discussions, both formal and informal. But without wanting to sound too alarmist, none of this will matter if we no longer have a planet to stand on. We will not have another 150 assemblies to address climate change. Time is a luxury we simply no longer have. Full stop. But the good news is that solutions lie within our grasp. Parliamentarians hold in their hands the power to legislate for a sustainable future. We can enact ambitious climate laws, approve budgets that prioritize green investments, and hold on our governments accountable for meeting the Paris Agreement and climate commitments to transition away from fossil fuels into a green economy. Our role is crucial in closing the gap between global discussions and tangible national actions. Indeed, the IPU was founded on the belief that parliamentary action can and must transform our world for the better. Your work around the world, dear colleagues, has repeatedly demonstrated this conviction. You have witnessed personally how parliaments effect change, how good laws can lift millions out of poverty, how careful scrutiny prevents abuses, and how daring diplomacy promotes peace. More than ever, we need to act. This 150th anniversary is your moment to strengthen bonds of cooperation, commit to deeper engagement, and propel legislative leadership forward. Let us grasp this opportunity. Let us vow to take action for social development, justice, peace, and a sustainable planet. As I said, parliamentary action is a synonym for democratic action. It is a collective action. And today, at our 150th assembly, let it also be urgent, courageous, and emphatic action. As representatives of our people, we carry their aspirations for peace, justice, and a greater, a fairer future. I thank you for listening.
Thank you for your valuable insights. Endigi so'z navbati Parlamentlararo ittifoq bosh kotibi hurmatli
Now I'll give the floor to Mr. Martin Chungong.
Welcome to Mr. Martin Chungong, the Secretary General of the Inter-Parliamentary Union.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, wherever you are. Madam Chair of the Senate of Uzbekistan, dear friend Tanzila Nabayeva, thank you for welcoming us here. Honorable Speaker of the Legislative Chamber of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Mr. Ismoilov, good to see you again, sir. Madam President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Dr. Tulia Akson, honorable speakers and deputy speakers present in this meeting, members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. It is indeed a great privilege for me to address this opening ceremony of the landmark 150th IPU Assembly, the first, as the President of the IPU has just said, to be held in Central Asia. And we are privileged that this meeting is taking place in this dynamic city of Tashkent. I want to add my voice to that of the distinguished President of the IPU in thanking the authorities of the Republic of Uzbekistan, His Excellency President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, Her Excellency Tanzila Nabayeva, and of course, His Excellency the Speaker of the Legislative Chamber, Mr. Ismailov. We thank you for your very gracious hospitality. Previous speakers have stated that this assembly, this 150th assembly, is a milestone. On 150 occasions now, and on 149 occasions now, the IPU has convened the global parliamentary community to debate the issues of the day, to find solutions to conflict and other crises, to exchange good practices, and to build bridges and foster common understanding between the parliaments of the world. For the first time, the IPU Assembly is relocating to Central Asia, and in particular to the Republic of Uzbekistan. We thank you for that opportunity. And during this week, we will be discussing parliamentary action for social development and justice, an important subject that will no doubt encourage all of us to reflect on the situation of our respective countries and on the everyday lives of the citizens that you represent. But the world continues to face multiple crises, and the turmoil of the past few months has shown us that the multilateral order we have come to take for granted could be upended at any moment. This is why I would like to emphasize once again, as noted in the Geneva Declaration that was adopted by the IPU Assembly 1 year ago, the vital importance of parliamentary diplomacy as a complement to traditional diplomacy. This is, after all, the core mandate of the Inter-Parliamentary Union as envisioned by our founding fathers, Randall Kramer and Frederick Passy. For over 135 years now, the IPU has brought together parliamentarians from countries in conflict with a view to finding common ground and peaceful solutions. We must always keep the potential of parliamentary diplomacy grounded in dialogue and mutual respect at the forefront of our minds as an ideal way to build trust, promote cooperation, and share
增进信任，增进合作，交流最佳实践。
to foster parliamentary diplomacy for peace. From our Committee on Middle East Questions, which for nearly 40 years has been grappling with the conflicts in the region, through our group of facilitators for Cyprus, which has been monitoring
地
the
区呢，
situation on that divided
通过我们
island
在塞浦
for
路斯的工作，
and more recently, the task force on the peaceful
我们
resolution of the conflict or
对
the
于
war
这
in
个分
Ukraine,
裂的
which continues its
岛
work
国呢，
to
一直
support an
在
end
进
to
行
this
监督。
conflict,
我们
something which
面对
seems
乌克兰
more
战争
in
呢，
reach now
议会的力
than
量
when
也
the
在
task
寻找
force
结
was
束战
created
争的
3 years
方案。
ago. We're also continuing our work in support of the several
3 年
parliaments
前
in
呢，我们
West
也建立了专
and
门的
Central
工作
Africa
组，
that have
同
experienced
时
coup
呢，
d'etats
我
in
们
recent
在
years,
中非
and we
也
hope
做
we
了
can
工作。
continue the series of
近年来呢，
meetings
我们也希
that
望呢，我们
we
能够继
organized
续
last
促
year
成一
with
系列的
prominent speakers of
会
parliaments
会议，
that are facing conflict and disputes.
特别
We
是
want the
对于那
IPU
些
to
陷
continue to
入
be
冲突的
that
国家和地区的议
impartial
会
arbiter,
而
that
言，
mediator that can be trusted by all sides. And I also want
并且呢，
to single
让
out
议
the
会
work of our
成
Committee
为
on the
各
Human
方
Rights
都
of
能够
Parliamentarians
信任
and say how
的调解
reassured
方。
that this committee
同时呢，
is receiving greater attention from
我
the
们也
global
要
parliamentary
确保我们的
community
民主和
as
人
you
权常
increasingly
设委员
bring
会以及
the
我们在这个
decisions
领域
of
的
that
工作呢，
committee
得到全
to
球
the
议会
attention
界
of
的
the
更
relevant
多的
authorities in your
支
countries.
持，因为
Just a quick
我
glance at the
们
timetable of our assembly this week shows that the world is facing many challenges. I am hopeful that the process being followed by the Standing Committee on Peace and International Security will lead this assembly to pass a resolution that directly affects or addresses the crisis in Gaza and advocates more stringently the implementation of a two-state solution in Israel and Palestine. Thank you. And the Committee on Sustainable Development will be finalizing its resolution on parliamentary strategies to mitigate the long-lasting impact of conflicts, including armed conflicts, on sustainable development. I want to add that 2025 is a special year for the IPU. In June this year, following on from a hugely successful conference we organized in Marrakesh in 2023, the IPU will be convening the second parliamentary conference on interfaith dialogue in Rome, hosted in conjunction with the Italian Parliament and taking place alongside celebrations events to celebrate the Vatican's Jubilee. The conference will bring together parliamentarians from around the world with representatives of religions and beliefs, faith-based and civil society organizations, international organizations, and academia. And they will discuss strengthening trust and embracing hope for our common future. I encourage you all to be present in Rome in June this year and contribute to the deliberations of this important conference that holds great potential for promoting peaceful coexistence and thereby bringing about greater peace in the world. In July, we will be holding our 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament in Geneva, IPU, the home of the IPU. These conferences bring together the leaders of national parliaments from around the world and take place only every 5 years, providing an opportunity for speakers to engage in dialogue to shape and strengthen the parliamentary dimension of global governance. The conference is being organized in close collaboration with the United Nations and will focus on parliamentary cooperation and multilateralism for peace, justice, and prosperity for all. Immediately prior to this World Conference of Speakers, we will have the honor of hosting the 15th Summit of Women Speakers of Parliament. That will be taking place in Geneva, and there will be very important events taking place. Madam President, you have already pointed out the progress that has been made in women's leadership, including within the IPU, and we are pleased that we will be convening this 15th summit, the 14th of which took place in this very room some 3 years ago and was hosted by Her Excellency Tanzila Nabayeva. That assembly or that summit will of course be discussing important issues related to promoting women's rights and gender equality, and we will continue to pursue in a dogged fashion the goal of parity in decision making. And we organize this conference at a time when the world is celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which is the global roadmap or blueprint for pursuing gender equality in the world, and whose provisions continue to be legitimate and valid today. We'll continue to promote the IPU's ideals and serve as a trailblazer in promoting gender equality worldwide. And Madam President, you mentioned the issue of equal pay for equal work. I think that it would be important for us to continue to work to make sure that the respective rights and interests of men and women can be respected in an egalitarian and equitable fashion. This week here in Tashkent, we will be launching a very important campaign to mark this foundational year, this 30th anniversary of Beijing, but more importantly, the 40th anniversary of the women's movement in the IPU. This morning, I was privileged to be part of the celebrations that were held in the Forum of Women Parliamentarians. And I think that we have made considerable progress over the past 40 years, but this is an opportunity for us to rededicate ourselves, to recommit to gender equality, and that is why we will be having the pleasure of launching this campaign on achieving gender equality through action. Will be action by action. And we will be seeking to mobilize parliamentarians, both men and women, to take concrete legislative and institutional actions to accelerate gender equality in politics. You'll be hearing more about this in the coming days, as I said, but the campaign's goals are threefold: to achieve parity in parliament and politics, to make parliaments more gender sensitive, and to create a world free from gender-based discrimination and violence. Last month in Mexico, we held a landmark global conference on women parliamentarians, which brought together over 300 MPs from across the world. And that conference was an opportunity for us to learn from Mexico's recent successes in improving gender balance in the composition of its parliament, but also in congratulating Mexico on the election of its first ever woman president in 200 years of independence. I want to also use this opportunity to congratulate all the women folk here, and I add all the men who have been at the forefront of the progress that we have made under the leadership of the Forum of Women Parliamentarians. As you can see, the IPU never sleeps. We are constantly finding ways to fulfill our strategic objectives and advance our policy goals. But we are here principally to serve you, our member parliaments. And I hope this assembly will provide yet another opportunity for us to reflect on the future direction of our work, for parliaments everywhere, for democracy for everyone. I thank you for your kind attention and wish you very fruitful deliberations.
Thank you for sharing your motivational thoughts. Xonimlar va janoblar, endi esa e'tiboringizni ekranga qaratamiz. Unda Parijdan Toshkentga qadar Parlamentlararo ittifoqining 150-assambleyasini nishonlash nomidagi videorolik taqdimoti beriladi. Marhamat. I ask you not to take your eyes off the screen. There is a video presentation for you entitled From Paris to Tashkent, celebrating the 150th Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Let's enjoy it.
Time is the longest distance between two places. It all started in 1889 in Paris. A group of MPs from 9 countries came together for the first IPU meeting on 30th June, a date which has since become the International Day of Parliamentarism. And the following year they met again in London. In the early years, IPU assemblies were called Inter-Parliamentary Conferences. They were mostly in Europe: Rome, Brussels, Bern, Geneva, Budapest, The Hague, Vienna, Berlin, Stockholm, and exclusively with men. However, in 1922, Antonie Fulf, a German teacher and an MP, was the first woman to speak at an IPU conference. In 1925, the conference went to Washington. In 1956, the conference went to Asia. for the first time to Bangkok, followed by Japan in 1960. In 1958, the conference went to Latin America for the first time to Rio de Janeiro, followed by Peru in 1968. In 1985, the IPU went to Sub-Saharan Africa for the first time to Lomé. In 1989, Queen Elizabeth II opened the 82nd Assembly in London, an assembly which also celebrated the IPU's centenary. In 1997, the IPU adopted the landmark Universal Declaration on Democracy in Cairo. In 2020, the IPU Assembly was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. An extraordinary virtual governing council was organised instead. In 2022, the IPU Assembly adopted the Kigali Declaration on Gender Equality and Gender-Sensitive Parliaments. In 2025, the IPU Assembly goes to Central Asia for the first time to Tashkent for its 150th meeting. Over 136 years, with 150 assemblies, the IPU has become the Parliament of Parliaments, uniting and convening parliamentarians from every corner of the globe for democracy, for everyone.
Dear friends, all speakers have made their speeches. I now declare the 150th Assembly of IPU open.
Attention please. We kindly invite you to the official dinner hosted by Ms. Tanzila Narbayeva, Chairperson of the Senate of the Ali Majlis of the Republic of Uzbekistan, for Speakers of Parliament, Heads of Parliamentary Delegations and Executive Committee members by invitation only. Location: Ballroom, Tashkent City Congress Center. And also, cocktail reception for all other delegates. Location: Terrace, Hilton Hotel. Xonimlar va janoblar, Oliy Majlis nomidan rasmiy qabul marosimiga taklif qilamiz. Barcha delegatsiya rahbarlarini o'z hamrohlari bilan Kongress markazining ballroom zaliga taklif etamiz. Qolgan delegatsiya a'zolari Hilton mehmonxonasining terrasasiga taklif etiladi.